Every week, British families put roughly 65 million chicken nuggets into shopping trolleys without flipping the box over once. I did flip it over. I went through the ingredient lists of the most popular supermarket nuggets sold in the UK right now, checked the chicken percentages, cross-referenced what those processing ingredients actually do inside your body, and found 7 brands you need to stop buying immediately, plus 3 options that are genuinely worth your money. The one sitting at the very bottom of this list contains so little chicken it barely qualifies as a meat product at all, and it is one of the best-selling nuggets in the country. I am Luke. This changes how you shop. Let us begin with one that might surprise you because on paper it looks like the least offensive option here. At number 7, Tesco breaded chicken nuggets. This is the standard Tesco own brand nugget, the one in the blue and white box that ends up in millions of baskets every week. The chicken content is 58%, which sits at the top of this avoid list. Some of you are already thinking that does not sound too bad, so forget the percentage. Count the ingredients instead. Wheat flour, water, rapeseed oil, pea fibre, wheat starch, salt, yeast extract, dextrose, sugar, seasonings. That is 11 non-chicken ingredients propping up one nugget. 11. Some of those are doing similar jobs. Dextrose is a fast-absorbing sugar derived from cornstarch. It sits alongside regular sugar and yeast extract, which is itself a source of free glutamates used to amplify flavor artificially. 3 separate sweetening or flavor-boosting agents in a single chicken nugget. Nobody adds 3 flavor crutches to a product that tastes good on its own. The 11 ingredient scaffold around that 58% is doing the work that more chicken would do by itself, and every one of those ingredients is cheaper per kilo than breast meat. Tesco has the buying power to put significantly more chicken in this box. They have chosen not to, and when a product needs 11 helpers to function, the percentage is almost beside the point. We have looked at what holds a nugget together. Now look at what decided how much chicken got into the box before a single ingredient was chosen. Next up, at number 6, Lidl standard chicken nuggets. Lidl has built its entire UK business model on one promise: same quality, lower price. Walk into any Lidl and the store layout, the signage, the advertising, everything reinforces the idea that you are getting a smarter deal without sacrificing what matters. Their nuggets contain approximately 55% chicken. On the surface, that looks competitive. So let me show you where the deal falls apart. Discount supermarkets operate on volume margins so thin that every fraction of a penny matters. When a nugget contains 55% chicken, the remaining 45% is where the margin lives. Coating ingredients, starches, oils, water. These are dramatically cheaper per kilogram than actual chicken breast. The more of them you can build into the recipe while keeping the product legally classifiable as a chicken nugget, the more profit per unit. At 55%, Lidl sits in a middle ground where the chicken percentage is high enough to avoid the very bottom of the market, but low enough to protect the margin that funds their price positioning. You are not getting the same product for less money. You are getting a product engineered to feel like the same thing, while containing just enough chicken to hold the illusion together. That is not a deal. That is a different product at a lower price, and those are 2 very different things. It is also worth noting that Lidl does not make these nuggets in-house. They are produced by contract manufacturers who supply multiple retailers, adjusting the recipe to hit whatever price point the supermarket demands. The nugget you are buying was not designed to be good. It was designed to hit a cost target, and everything in the recipe, every percentage, every filler, every gram of starch follows from that target backwards. The next one sits at 51% chicken, almost identical to several others on this list. But what is happening inside that nugget when you bite into it is a different story entirely. At number 5, Morrison's breaded chicken nuggets. Close your eyes and bite into a chicken nugget from the freezer aisle. It feels solid, springy, like a compressed piece of breast meat. Now open your eyes and look at what is actually creating that sensation when the product is only 51% chicken. Pea fibre, pea starch, wheat gluten. 3 separate plant-derived structural ingredients, each with a specific engineering job. Pea fibre adds bulk so the nugget feels bigger in your mouth without adding meat. Pea starch fills gaps in the internal matrix, and wheat gluten is the one worth pausing on. Gluten creates an elastic protein network that mimics the texture of solid muscle. It is there to make something that is partly chicken feel in your mouth like it is entirely chicken. If the product were 80 or 90% breast meat, it would hold together on its own. It would not need a gluten scaffold. That scaffold is a direct consequence of the chicken percentage being too low for the nugget to function as a solid piece of meat. When you chew a Morrison's nugget and think it feels substantial, you are not tasting quality. You are tasting food engineering. The 51% figure tells you what is in the box. The 3 binding agents tell you why the box needed them. And once you know that, the texture stops being reassuring and starts being evidence. Freeze the frame for a second. Every brand so far has had one thing in common. You could find the problem by reading the back of the box. The ingredients are right there. The next one hides the problem on the front. Back to the ranking. At number 4, Bird's Eye Standard Chicken Nuggets. The front of the box says made from 100% chicken breast. Read that again. Most people see it and assume the nugget is 100% chicken. It is not. The nugget contains approximately 51% chicken breast. The phrase 100% chicken breast refers only to the type of meat used within that 51%, not to the composition of the whole product. The other 49% is water, flour, vegetable oils, starch, salt, raising agents, and flavoring. This is where language does the work that ingredients cannot. By printing 100% chicken breast on the front of a product that is 49% non-chicken, Bird's Eye creates an impression of purity that the actual recipe does not support. A parent scanning boxes in the freezer aisle, trying to make a reasonable choice in 30 seconds, sees that claim and puts it in the trolley believing they have just chosen well. They have not. They have chosen a product that is half chicken and half industrial recipe, wrapped in packaging designed to make that ratio invisible. The 100% claim is not a lie. It is something more frustrating than a lie. It is a truth arranged to function as one. And because Bird's Eye carries decades of brand trust behind it, the golden captain on the box, the family-friendly advertising that claim lands harder than it would on a no-name budget brand. Trust becomes the vehicle that carries the misleading impression past your critical thinking and into your trolley. We have seen how a label tricks you at the point of purchase. The next one tricks you after you have already bought it, at the one moment you think you are making a healthy choice. At number 3, Jahan breaded chicken nuggets. Jahan nuggets contain approximately 46% chicken breast. But the ingredient that separates these from everything else on this list is chicken collagen. Collagen is a structural protein found in connective tissue, skin, cartilage, and bones. It is not muscle meat. It is not what you picture when you think of chicken in a nugget. It is a processing byproduct that can be extracted cheaply and added back into reformed meat products to increase the total protein count on the nutrition label without increasing the amount of actual breast meat in the recipe. That matters because protein content is one of the numbers health-conscious shoppers check. A nugget showing a reasonable protein figure might look comparable to a higher quality product, but if a portion of that protein is coming from collagen rather than breast meat, the nutritional profile is not the same. Collagen is almost entirely devoid of the essential amino acid tryptophan, which means it scores lower on protein quality indices than muscle meat. The number on the box looks right. The biology behind it does not add up the same way. Alongside the collagen, modified wheat starch and stabilizers round out a recipe that leans heavily on processing technology to hold together a product where the chicken content alone cannot do the job. When a manufacturer has to bring in connective tissue protein and chemical stabilizers to make a nugget function, you are no longer eating a chicken product with some coating. You are eating a food engineering project with some chicken in it. Here is where this ranking turns a corner. Everything above this point was about ingredients pretending to be something they are not. What is waiting below is about a product that has stopped pretending altogether. Before we continue, I've spent years standing in supermarket aisles so you don't have to. The supermarket method is everything I've learned from hundreds of supermarket products, distilled into one simple guide you can use on every shopping trip. Scan the QR code on your screen, grab your copy, and let's get back to the rankings. At number 2, Asda Smart Price breaded chicken nuggets. Pick up one of these nuggets before you cook it. feel the weight of it in your hand. Now ask yourself where that weight is coming from, because at 45% chicken, more than half of it is not meat. A large part of the answer is water, and the ingredient keeping it there is tapioca starch. Extracted from cassava root, tapioca starch serves as a moisture retention agent. It locks water inside the product matrix, which means the nugget weighs more and feels more substantial than the actual meat content would produce on its own. You are paying per gram. Some of those grams are tapioca trapped water. Then look at the flour. It is listed as fortified wheat flour, which sounds like an upgrade until you understand what fortification means in this context. Flour in the UK is required by law to be fortified with calcium, iron, niacin and thiamine. That is not the manufacturer adding nutrition. That is the legal minimum for selling flour. Listing it as fortified makes a regulatory baseline sound like a deliberate health choice, and in a product where flour is already replacing chicken, that framing does real work. The economics of smart price products work precisely because the ingredient architecture is designed to deliver volume at minimum raw material cost. When Asda labels this as the budget option, they are being more transparent than they probably intend. The price is low because the chicken is low. That is the only honest equation here, and the word smart in the name is doing heavy lifting, because there is nothing smart about paying for tapioca starch and trapped water when you came in looking for chicken. Right? The one I have been building towards. Every brand so far has used fillers to replace chicken. This one uses sugar to replace flavor, and the reason it needs to tells you everything. And finally, at number 1, the worst on the list, Tesco Hearty Food Co. breaded chicken nuggets. There is 1.5 grams of sugar per 100 grams in this nugget. A 300-gram serving contains 4.5 grams of sugar. That is more than a digestive biscuit, in a product that is supposed to be savory chicken. Sugar has no functional reason to be in a chicken nugget beyond flavor manipulation and browning enhancement during frying. So the question is, why is it there? Because this nugget is 40% chicken. 40%. At that concentration, the natural meat flavor is so diluted that the recipe needs sweetness to compensate. The sugar is not an accident, it is a confession. The remaining 60% is wheat flour, water, rapeseed oil, pea fiber, salt, yeast, and dextrose. If you serve a child 5 nuggets, 3 of them, by weight, are not chicken. They are a combination of refined flour, industrial oil, water, and a fiber extract from peas that exists solely to add bulk. Tesco sells this product alongside their 58% standard nugget on the same shelf in the same store, which means they have the supply chain, the facilities, and the knowledge to put more chicken in the box. Hearty Food Co. is not a limitation of what is possible. It is a calculation of what they can get away with at this price point. And the name, Hearty Food Co., is doing work it has no business doing, implying warmth, substance, and generosity for a product that delivers the lowest chicken content of any major brand I tested. The gap between the name and the recipe is 60 percentage points of missing chicken. That is not branding. That is fiction. And here is the detail that should stay with you. The protein you think you are providing to your child is diluted by more than half with ingredients that contribute either empty calories or nothing at all. A nugget at this concentration is no longer a convenient way to serve chicken. It is a convenient way to serve flour and oil in a shape that looks like it contains chicken. That is 7 nuggets, 7 ingredient lists, and 7 different ways of hiding how little chicken you are getting. Enough of the bad ones. Now let us look at what actually deserves a place in your freezer. Starting with the most practical swap for families who need a gluten-free option. At number 3 on the safe list, Bird's Eye gluten-free chicken nuggets. These contain 50% chicken breast, which is not dramatically higher than some of the avoid list, but the difference is in what surrounds it. The coating is made from rice, chickpea and maize flour instead of wheat, and the product is free from artificial colors and preservatives according to current labeling. For families managing celiac disease or gluten sensitivity, the options in the freezer aisle are usually limited and often worse in overall ingredient quality than their wheat-based equivalents. These avoid that trap. The ingredient list is shorter, the coating components are more recognizable, and the absence of artificial additives makes them a more straightforward product than most of what sits alongside them on the shelf. They are still lightly fried and processed, which is why they sit at number 3 rather than higher. But within the category of convenient frozen nuggets, this is a noticeably cleaner recipe that does not ask you to compromise on dietary needs to get something reasonable. It is also worth pointing out what is missing from the ingredient list. No dextrose, no yeast extract, no pea fiber used as a bulking agent. The non-chicken portion is doing one job, which is providing a coating, rather than 3 or 4 jobs pretending to be chicken. Where the last option cleans up the coating, the next one rethinks what goes inside the nugget itself. At number 2, Little Dish Superstar's chicken nuggets with hidden veg. These nuggets contain 47% British chicken breast, alongside 19% cauliflower, built into the nugget itself rather than served on the side where it gets ignored. The coating is gluten-free, the ingredient list contains no artificial colours or preservatives, and the chicken is British sourced. The cauliflower inclusion changes the nutritional equation in a way that matters. Instead of filling the non-chicken portion with starches, oils and binding agents, Little Dish has replaced a significant share of that filler space with an actual vegetable. A child eating these is getting fiber, vitamin C and micronutrients from the cauliflower that do not exist in any of the 7 products on the avoid list. For parents who have tried and failed to get vegetables into a child who will only eat nugget-shaped food, this is not a gimmick. It is a genuine solution to a real problem, and it works because the cauliflower is invisible inside the product. The child does not know it is there, you do. That is the whole point. Where every avoid list brand used the non-chicken space to cut costs, Little Dish used it to add nutrition. Same space inside the nugget, completely opposite purpose. And finally, at number 1 on the safe list, homemade chicken nuggets. Take organic chicken breast, slice it into strips or chunks, dip in beaten organic egg, roll in breadcrumbs, oat flour or gluten-free breadcrumbs if that is what your family needs. Season with paprika, garlic, black pepper, whatever you like. Lay them on a tray, drizzle with a small amount of olive oil or rapeseed oil, and bake or air fry until golden and cooked through. That is it. That is the entire recipe. No pea fiber, no tapioca starch, no chicken collagen, no dextrose, no modified wheat starch, no stabilizers. You know exactly what the chicken percentage is because it is 100% chicken, coated in ingredients you chose yourself. A batch takes roughly 20 minutes including prep, costs less per serving than most of the branded products on the avoid list when you calculate by actual chicken content, and freezes perfectly for midweek convenience. You can make 20 or 30 at a time on a Sunday, freeze them flat on a tray, bag them up and pull out exactly what you need on a Tuesday evening. The texture is better because it is real meat. The flavour is better because it is not competing with dextrose and yeast extract. And you will never have to stand in a freezer aisle wondering what 40% chicken actually means, because you already know exactly what went into the box. Once you have made a batch, you will also notice something else. Your kids will eat more of them, not because they are shaped differently or branded with a cartoon, but because they taste like actual chicken, and children can tell the difference even when they cannot articulate it. The gap between homemade and the worst product on this list is 60 percentage points of actual chicken. That is not a marginal improvement. That is a completely different food. 7 brands engineered to hide how little chicken you are getting. 3 alternatives that respect your money, your family, and your time. The companies selling 40% chicken nuggets at full price are relying on the fact that you never turn the box around. Now you know what is on the back. Use it. Stay sharp, read the label, and stop paying meat prices for flour and water.